Here we are, back at it again, motherfuckers. Terror Zone podcast in full effect with one of the biggest known people in modern hardcore all the way to the fucking early to mid 90s. You know Scott Vogel. There's no introduction needed for him. He's fucking Terror, Slugfest, Despair, Buried Alive, and he has another side band that is World Be Free. Took me a second to remember. Jesus Christ. That's how much stuff they've done. They have a couple, I think an EP and a vinyl out or some shit. But today we talk about Terror. Terror is one of the first bands, few first dozen bands, I don't know, the introduction to hardcore back in the early 2000s that I got into. And it was strange talking to him because some people you look up to in hardcore and you look at them as more of just a hardcore kid, but you know, everybody knows how down to earth he is, and he's willing to talk to anybody, support anybody, share anything you ask him to. He's fucking down for the cause, real deal. Scott Vogel. It's I'm going to say two things about the podcast. I'm glad I waited as long as I did to talk to him so I can kind of get an idea of how to steer a podcast and, you know, drive this ship. You know, don't make it boring. Don't make it fucking stupid for the people who want to listen. And I also don't want to make it too repetitive or boring to the guest, because, you know, obviously Scott and people I've talked to have done a bunch of podcasts before me. It's not their first time around. They get asked the same fucking questions over and over again. So, without those filler questions of how'd you get into hardcore and shit like that, there's still a lot to talk about, but I'm happy with the conversation. But knowing that I was under a 40-minute time crunch because of the stupid fucking Zoom app, because now you can only do a limited meeting to 40 minutes, and then you have to stop it and start another one, and that totally disrupts the flow of the conversation. And with it being Scott's first day on tour, I wasn't about to torture him fucking trying to get back on and start a new meeting, this, that, and whatever. So it seemed it was best to cut it off at the 40-minute mark. He said he had an hour to spare with me, but I don't know. I was in my head about it, to be honest. I mean, fucking Scott Vogel's a big name. He's cool. It's hard to not be fucking nervous about that type of shit or want it to go right, because you talk to people and they have people who follow them. So imagine if anybody wants to listen to this that already doesn't follow me. I don't want it to be boring for them. Or, I don't know, that's how I felt. Because I don't want to ruin it for anybody who may be a new listener, and especially with such a big guest. Scott Vogel, check it out. It means a lot to me. I probably already said thank you, but I'm thanking him again. And moving on to some shit. Today, D-Block has a new EP out on No Echo. 5 or 6 songs. Excited. They got a new fucking lineup. They added Lyric from Enemy of God. And Iced Out. He is now in the band, which I'm fucking is a great addition. I haven't seen them live yet, but with his resume in Detroit hardcore and all the bands he's been a part of, I'm sure he'll add some flavor to fucking D-Block. And they also have a new drummer. I don't know if that's out and about. I don't know if it matters, but it's a homie everybody knows. So be on the lookout for that. If they announce it or whatever, he's just going to show up playing fucking drums. Cool, good for them. And Terror will also be here tomorrow with Pain of Truth, Never Ending Game, Sanguisuga Boogie, and who the fuck else? Oh yeah, Kubla Khan is also playing that show. And another shout out to Ramona from Black Iris Booking, she got a hold of me suggesting that it'd be a cool idea if we, kind of like raffled off some tickets, but the way we did it was we wanted the favorite pit story and put it in the comments, tag, share, like, blah, 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 all that dumb shit. Hope to promote the podcast and her booking shit a little bit and just do something fun for Detroit Hardcore, Who's going to get mad at a free pair of tickets if you got a cool mosh pit story? Nobody, especially if you win. But shout out to Jacob Smalley. I'm putting his name out there. Oh, shit. He won because he had a fucking pretty cool pit story talking about how back in the day at a Tyrant show, they played Toledo, and it's an infamous story. Everybody's heard about it, where a kid got his ear ripped off during the also infamous murder ball game that Tyrant liked to play. They said all the little Toledo kids were appalled, and it was awesome. And then he said another time in Toledo, some fucking goofball emo band from Cincinnati was playing, and their vocalist was trying very hard to look like the singer from AFI. And he took it very personally. So he did like a helicopter spin mosh into him with naked aggression. Fucked him up. And his band left shortly after. I also take that very personally. You don't try to be no Davey Havoc. You don't even attempt to look like Davey Havoc. AFI is sacred. And if you don't like AFI, then that's your opinion. But fuck you anyway. So, whatever. Especially don't try to be like fucking Davey Havoc. That shit's cheesy enough as it is. And somebody else trying to do it? Ugh. So, that was a fun little contest. Hopefully there'll be more forward shows. Any other shows, obviously, but go see Terror at the Magic Stick. That's going to be amazing. And I just want to say how lucky and how honored I feel to be able to talk to some of the people that I do and for them to take the time out of their day. They don't have to. They got their own fucking busy lives. They got real life shit to be worrying about. And for them to take the time, like I said, it means a lot because we give something out to people. They get to hear hopefully a cool conversation, and I appreciate all the support, and I hope this one gets around to people because everybody knows Scott Vogel's cool as fuck, and so is Terror and Buried Alive. And that's it. I'm going to stop rambling because it ain't about me, motherfucker. It's about Scott Vogel. Thank you again. Follow on Instagram. Get Terror's new album, Pain into Power, streaming everywhere. Catch him on tour. And if you don't, you're a bitch.
I love this town. The spirit never fades. Yo, from back in the day, this murder capital USA. The heart of that city comes through my veins. This is Detroit, motherfucker. We're toasted. This is Detroit, motherfucker. Fuck it, the squad, beware. Yeah, you get no love over here. We smell fake from miles away.
I'm ready to roll when you are.
Thank you, Scott. I just want to say thank you so much for fucking taking the time. I know you're on your first day of a tour. You're out in Denver right now. It truly means a lot to me and the people who listen. I know you've done a fucking million podcasts. You have obligations. You have friends and bandmates. And I just want to thank you again for, give me a little bit of your time. We've got about an hour. So hopefully we can get some shit in.
Go nuts.
Go nuts. Let's go nuts. Like you get the crowd going nuts, right?
I'm happy to be here. I'm a fan of your podcast, so I'm glad we're doing this.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we talked say a little bit over a year ago, but I'm actually glad we waited so I can get a little bit more, experience. I'm about this will be 30 episodes in, so I'm glad I can kind of get my thoughts together on how I approach things and like the meaning of the podcast, I suppose. I just like to talk to cool ass people in cool bands or people that do cool shit. So, so you're one of those guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said to you, we everybody knows your biography by now, by all the things you've done in the Keepers of the Faith documentary and all that type of shit. So we don't got to really backtrack that far. But I don't know. I guess I can go. My first question for you would be: there's no question that your love for hardcore has stayed strong and true for multiple decades now. And is there any certain time that you realize that like this is like the only thing for you, like no 9 to 5 job, no kids, no fucking rush hour traffic? Was it early on, or was it sometime after you realized, that it can just be your lifestyle and get away with it?
That's I can't really pinpoint a time when I just, well, actually maybe it was right away when I found hardcore. It seems like from that moment forward, I really kind of centered my life around getting to shows. At the time didn't have my driver's license, didn't have a car. Any job when I think when I turned 16, my parents were like, you have to have a job or get out of the house, that type of mentality. So any job I got, I kind of made sure it was a job where I could hopefully take off work to go to shows when it was important. And up to that time, I played sports. I played basketball, baseball, football, like team sports. As soon as I found hardcore, I dropped all that and never played any team sports again. So right away, I kind of made it the focus of my life. And then when I got older and lived on my own, I didn't really ever think about going to college or trying to get a real job. I really just didn't care about anything. I just really just worked shitty jobs to pay the bills in order to be able to do my bands and be able to travel and play shows and go to shows and stuff like that. So I can't think of like a pinpoint time where it was like, all right, this is where I'm focusing my life. It just really happened immediately, and I never really thought about anything else. And I've been asked before, like, what I would do if I didn't do band stuff and what I think my life would have been like. And I really don't have an answer because I really never had like a backup plan, or I never was like, I want to be a fucking teacher or I want to be a fucking lawyer. None of that stuff ever really went through my mind. It was just like, I was like content doing bullshit jobs, living in like shitty houses with other hardcore kids and being able to go to shows and play shows. So it was kind of like just an instant thing for me.
Yeah, that's fucking cool, man. Like, there's a lot of people who have spent, day one since they found what punk or hardcore was. They spend all their time, like, there's a bunch of bands from the 80s and 90s and shit, but it's like crazy to think that some people can make it so far, and it's literally all they live for is like their friends and family and hardcore. And the other 99% of the hardcore kids have to deal with like real life and like trying to survive, without living in a box somewhere. They have kids, or they have to go to fucking college, or they don't know what they're going to do. And that's cool to see. You got bills to pay, obviously, but it's cool to be able to have such like a free life to where I know you work hard. It's not fucking easy, being in the band and being so successful. So obviously you earned your right to live this life. It's just, a lot of people don't get to do that. So you're one in a million, say that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because never in my, even back then when I was talking about the path I took, I never thought, all right, I'm going to be in a band that will be, full-time and I'll make money off my band and I'll live that way. That was never, ever a thought. I don't, luckily I lived in Buffalo, which is like a cheaper city. It was even cheaper back then. So I could work like what I did was like worked a part-time telemarketing job. And that was enough to, live in a house with a couple other dudes, or an apartment, not a house, and pay my bills. And I had like a little shitty Honda Accord. And I guess another thing that worked in my favor is I wasn't really too materialistic. I didn't need much. I didn't need to be like flashy or have a nice car or stuff to like show off. I was never like a big record collector, so I was never spending tons of money on stuff like that. So I had enough to get by, but somehow it all worked out. But like I said, when Terror, even when Terror started, you know, after Buried Alive broke up, I saw like what it was like to tour a little and to get paid. You know, Buried Alive never got paid a lot, but we got a little more than the bands before that I was in. So I saw what it was like to get, you know, a couple $100 a show and stuff like that. But it was never a thought like we're going to start this band and we're going to live off this band. That was like, I just never really had any sort of, that sounds bad to say, but I never had like these goals or aspirations to be like successful in the eyes of, you know, the mainstream world. I just kind of just went with the flow, and it always sort of worked out for me.
Yeah. Yeah, but then I guess it's not like a bad thing. Like you said, it sounds like a bad thing. Like you never had the aspiration or inspiration to become successful. That means you were just doing what you loved, and it all just fell into place. So you can actually continue to do, you know, what you love most. And like a lot of people, we can go back to the rest of the fucking world. They're stuck doing shit that they hate for their entire life just to get by. So once again, like you're lucky to be able to do what you want and have that free life. So it all comes back to like, it's crazy to think like, you know, I had to scramble to get a job to be able to fucking survive, and you just like doing what you love to do best, and here you are still doing it. And even after the pandemic and all the bullshit and everything, life's good for you guys, stronger than ever with the new album coming out. And once again, thanks a lot.
I got very lucky, you know, but along the way, I telemarketed. I washed dishes at a country club, which was hard as hell. I drove a cab. I worked at a pizza place. I worked at a toy store. So I did all your typical bullshit jobs. And just with Terror, we just got lucky. But like you said, it's extremely hard work. So I'll give us that. But yeah, a little bit of luck too.
Yeah. Damn. It's crazy to think like, there's only one thing if you had to get off the road and stop Terror, is there any one thing that you would directly go towards to some sort of source of income? Is there anything you'd be like, I'm just gonna go do that because I like that, say, second best from hardcore?
No, I don't know.
I don't give a fuck. I love it.
Tough one for me. I don't know. I thought about it sometimes because you never know what's going to happen. I would hope I would get some, you know, I've made a lot of friends in the music world that do all sorts of things, like whether it's screen printing shirts or booking agencies or managing bands or all sorts of things that work in the music world. It's kind of really all I know. So hopefully I would go in that direction.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of ways you can go for sure. So that does make the most sense. So another question. A couple podcasts ago, you did with Richie Crutch on the Post America podcast. I remember one of the questions he asked you was if you can pick 5 cities in the entire world or United States that has the best hardcore scene. And one of those cities you mentioned was Detroit. And I don't know if you elaborated so much on that, but since this is a Detroit-based podcast, is there anything you can say why you dig this scene so much?
Well, the history speaks for itself. And I mean, you know, for me, it starts with learning about Cold as Life. You know, that's an extremely influential band. And when my first band, Slugfest, played in Detroit at kind of a cool show. I know I just got off of Cold as Life. I'll get back to them. But the first time I came to Detroit, it was booked at, I want to say it was like a coffee house. And it was done by, yes. And Eric, a dude named Eric, who now I think is kind of in the skateboard world.
Yeah, he Refuge Skate Shop, I believe, if that's what we're
Right.
talking about. Yeah, he owns a skate
Yes.
shop.
Thank you for having a better brain than me.
Of course.
He booked the show, I believe, and it was Slugfest, Earth Crisis, and Chokehold. That was a little more the suburban side of Detroit, but at that time, I hadn't really toured much, and it was just great to get outside of Buffalo and play to these new cities, new scenes, and that's like an amazing show. That was like Earth Crisis with the All Out War 7-inch out, seeing them at their like most youthful, primal, volatile state. And it was a really cool show. A funny story after that show, I remember Mike Conquer the World, who did a label in Detroit back in the day, who put out like my old band Fade Away that I played drums for. It was funny because he was at the show and he asked us for a ride home, which we thought was hilarious. Like, we have to drive all the way to Buffalo, but he also asked us for a ride home, which we did because that's what you do in hardcore. But it's always kind of stuck with me as funny. The next time I came back to, and maybe not the next time, but we did some shows with Earth Mover at Pharaoh's Golden Cup, which I would still say is kind of suburban. Earth Mover, another fucking amazing Detroit band. But when Despair and Hatebreed did their summer tour, we played at the Magic Stick with Cold as Life, and maybe that's my first introduction to like the inner city Detroit thing. Earth Mover might have been on that show too. So I was really lucky, though. Those were like the early, maybe mid 90s, to see some of those great Detroit bands. Of course, we played with, my band's always played with Walls of Jericho. I'm probably forgetting some bands, but it's just close enough to Buffalo. And, you know, Detroit's bigger than Buffalo, but they're both similar cities in a certain ways, with awesome scenes and a great history. And yeah, I can't remember what I said on that, where I put Detroit, but the history is amazing, and nothing but respect.
Yeah. I mean, it really shows, especially when you guys come through and you're on stage. I'm sure you show the love in every town you play, but yeah, it's like when you're giving a shout out to Detroit and thanking us for coming when we're in their crowd and shit. Like, there's always I see a sparkle in your eye that you love Detroit a little bit more than other cities.
Yeah, and the Terror shows have always been great, and it's cool because I just said Magic Stick back in 95 or 6, and Terror will be there in a couple weeks. So it's really cool that venues have stuck around. It's great that Cold as Life is, I don't know exactly what they're doing, but at least they're somewhat back in the universe. Hopefully I'll see them play sometime soon. And of course, Terror's looking forward to that show. It's going to be great.
Oh yeah, it is, man. Of course, everybody's looking forward. It seems like that's one of the bigger venues that can hold the crowd for you guys. And with Kubla Khan and Pain of Truth, it was at the Sanctuary, which you guys played there before a couple weeks ago. Pain of Truth and Gridiron played there.
Oh, dope.
It's like, yo, we need a bigger place. Everyone's getting really fucked up here. So I'm for sure glad that it bumped it up, a couple hundred more people to. I'm sure it's gonna sell out, but fuck, it's just chaos when you guys show up, man. What I got for you? Oh yeah, I was gonna tell you about one of the first times I seen you guys. Do you remember the venue Alvin's on Cass in Detroit? You guys played there.
Played there with Comeback Kid. I know we played there with them once. That was like in the city too, and it was really hot. I remember there was like this huge fan in there, but it didn't do enough. But I do remember that place.
Yeah. That was probably 05. You said it was a Comeback Kid at Modern Life is War. Sinai Beach was supposed to play, but for some reason they fell off that date. And so I was like 17 then. I'm about 34 now. So it just goes to show how fucking long ago it was. But I remember like going in there like before the show started, and I had to take a piss or whatever. And you were in the bathroom, man, and you were sitting there washing your face like a washcloth. And you just looked at me. You're like, another whore's bath with just like a smug look on your face. You're like, fuck this shit. It's so hot. And I'm still on tour. It could have been a rough day or or night before, but I was like, that's Scott right there, the singer of fucking Terror. So it was just a
I remember after that show, we had to drive all the way to, I believe, Iowa, and our van actually broke down. But yeah, like getting in the van after a show that hot when you're just like totally sticky, it's hard for me to sleep because I feel so disgusting. So I will go into whatever bathroom and take some sort of towel and take a fake shower. So you must have caught me showering in there. And yeah, that's like, we used to do some stuff too, like in Terror when we had an overnight drive. We would like, let's say we're in Texas and we just played a show and it was fucking 95 degrees. Before we get in the van and drive overnight, we pull up to some like motel, hop the fence, jump in their pool with like a bar of soap, like take a fake shower, jump back in the van. And then you at least feel like a human being for your overnight 12-hour drive. So yeah, touring's fucking disgusting.
yeah. Especially you said Alvin's too. I do remember that being one of the hottest shows I've ever been to, and it was so packed. I was wearing a white t-shirt as a blood in, blood out t-shirt, and I remember going home and like my dad be like, "You have fucking footprints on your back and on your shoulders." He was like, because people jumping off the stage and shit. And he's like, "Where the fuck were you?" Because my dad was not down for that shit. He's like, I couldn't do what I wanted. I had to sneak around. It's that devil shit.
Crazy.
Yeah, hey,
the things we do.
yeah. But I remember that was also one of the defining moments of like how much I love this shit because of the chaos and how hot it was and how there's no direction of the night of what the fuck's gonna happen or who's gonna show up, or there could be a fight, there could be a super awesome mosh pit, or you could get jumped on and get your eyes split open, and you have to go home and explain it to your parents on a school night. I don't think it was a school night, but I'm just saying, they're like, what the fuck is this kid into?
Yeah, insanity.
It is insanity. And so I mean, so we can move on to one of your new album that just came out. I think I heard in the other pod, one of the other ones that just came out today with Joe and Richie. You did that for Trifecta. You were mentioning that you've had this album. It was written for quite a while now, right? Like before you guys put it out. I remember you saying it was recorded just before you moved back to Buffalo or just after. So that was last winter, right?
I think it was written then. I mean, we had the pandemic where we weren't doing anything, so we kind of said, let's write a record. What else can we do? But it was done, finished, recorded June or July last year. So it's almost been a year since it was like handed in and done. And then, just with pressing plants delays as well as not being able to tour, we kind of just kept pushing, like waiting. And finally we had it ready. And then our drummer, Nick, let us know that he was having a baby. So he wanted some time off so he could, it's his first baby and he wanted to be there. So we pushed it back even a little bit farther. And, but it's fine. We have so many records out. There was no fucking big rush and it just gave us time to do it right. And I think, the record's out now and everything seems to be going super smoothly and people seem to be psyched. So there was a lot of like waiting and pushing and pulling, but everything works out in the end.
Yeah, man, it's super cool. And the new album's great. You got 10 songs that are some fucking bangers. You even got, Corpse Grinder and shit like that on one of the songs. So, I mean, how did that come about? Like, how did you ask him, or was it just a thing you guys thought of before you decided to ask him, or were you just looking for like a guest vocalist and that one was like just cool?
We definitely came up with the idea to have him, and we've toured with them before, and they're actually from Buffalo. So not Corpse Grinder, but Cannibal Corpse is originally from Buffalo before they moved to Florida. So we have like, a relationship with them and some ties to them. So I have their guitarist Rob's phone number. I just texted him. I said, hey, do you think Corpse Grinder would maybe be down to sing on this? He said, let me hit him up. And I think I got a text from Corpse Grinder out of the blue like a week later. And he said, I'm down to do this. And, it works really well for those reasons that I just said there. But also, Corpse Grinder is like, you can literally sit down and talk to him about Warzone, Youth Today, Gorilla Biscuits, Judge, Chromags, Agnostic Front. He loves all that shit, like passionately. Like when we toured with them, we would pull out like a little Bluetooth speaker, put on Warzone and sing the songs and have a beer. So he's very much down and very cool and down to earth. And it was a really, really cool thing to have him.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that, to be honest, with the whole Cannibal Corpse image and shit like that. I mean, I don't, it does make sense. It's all heavy music, but it's just like a different lane. But we all come from somewhere. We all got a background. So, just follow what you love, I guess.
I mean, I just talked about him and he's from Baltimore, but the guys from Buffalo, like I would see Cannibal Corpse with Zero Tolerance. I would see Cannibal Corpse I saw them with Brotherhood and the Accused. So I don't want to speak for them, but I'm pretty sure they grew up that, underground music was so small back then that I'm pretty sure those guys were all going to like hardcore shows as well as, death metal shows at the same time.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, heavy music back then, there's not as much as there is now, obviously. So get in where you fit in, right?
Exactly.
And squeeze in where you don't. Fuck it.
There was a show in Buffalo, like the early 90s, like maybe 91. It was called The Gathering of the Tribes. It was Cannibal Corpse and Baphomet, two like really well-known death metal bands, both from Buffalo, and Zero Tolerance and Snapcase. And those in Buffalo, those were like the two like premier bands. And it was probably like 1,000 people going fucking crazy. So those scenes always crossed over in Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah. It always seems, the early 2000s, like if like a death metal show and a hardcore show, there's some random band. Like it didn't really mix well then, but now it's pretty often that the scenes cross over in the same night. Like, so it's a good thing, obviously, but it was always weird. Like, oh, there's a metal band on this fucking bill. Like some shit's going to happen. So it's really good that everybody can get along, again, even though they did before, then it was like a separate world. And now like that, Sangwa Sugabog, I don't know if you consider them like totally death metal or not, but that's going to be a mixed crowd, I believe. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I don't fully know, but we did a tour with Dying Fetus like, I don't know, 6-8 months ago. Yeah. And we played a show with that Sanga Sugabog and Frozen Souls and the Dying Fetus in Tampa. And it was a great mix. And obviously tons and tons of metalheads, but a lot of hardcore kids came too. The energy was great. And, I'm not speaking 100%, but it seems like the scenes and the crowds are a little less like violent now and more accepting. So hopefully everything goes off pretty smoothly.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always interesting when some crazy shit happens, but it's always more positive and better when everyone leaves on a good note and no crazy shit. You're going to stop playing and fuck the setup. And, that just causes problems. But
I fully agree.
Yeah. Has there been any tours or like big bills you've ever been on with either Terror or Buried Alive that you felt like this band like totally doesn't belong here? Like any weird like Warp tours or anything, like even like or like inside a theater, you're like, this is fucked up. Whether there's like 20 feet between you and the crowd and security everywhere. Is it ever uncomfortable like those shows?
Yes and no. I mean, it definitely is a different type of energy and it's a different type of challenge, but it's kind of cool. And when you look at the surroundings, see what you're dealing with, see what the security's like, you can kind of create not the same energy as like a smaller club, but you can kind of get a cool vibe and work those crowds and make it kind of really, beautiful and the energetic and stuff in a different way. It's never going to match like a packed club. And there was a time in my life when I'd be kind of bummed on things like that, but I've kind of grown to like see it as a different type of challenge and believe in it and try to work it to the best of our abilities. Sometimes it fails and you're like, this fucking barricade sucked. These fucking security guards wouldn't let anything cool happen. This was kind of a wash. But for the most part, I just go into it kind of positively and trying to see what can happen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially like, for example, when you were on tour with it was you, the Cro-Mags, Obituary, and Hatebreed when you guys played at Harpo's, like on that 9-foot
stage
fucking
is
stage.
fucking huge. Holy shit!
That wasn't your first time there, was it?
It was. It was my
okay,
only time there. Yeah, I've heard of it, and I know Hatebreed did their DVD there. But when you walk in and see how high that stage is, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, still, from what I remember, the energy was decent, but I'll take a smaller show anytime. But yeah, that stage was tough. Like when you look down, you can't even see the front of the crowd because you're so high up.
Yeah, it's funny when people are trying to like, they're 2-3 people tall, trying to pile on to get to the mic, and like you're reaching down, and it's like, this is fucking impossible, man. The stage is absolutely enormous. But it makes for fun. Like almost every time Hatebreed will play there, just because it can hold all their fans, and it's still grimy. Hatebreed likes it. It's not one of those theaters with fucking like with permanent seats and shit.
Right.
To be a stand-up. I kind of went off on a tangent there. I guess we can just go back and some random questions with the time I have. Do you have any reason why when you guys did Trapped in a World, how you re-recorded all those songs, was there anything behind that, or was it just out of pure boredom, because of being trapped, in your house for that time being? Because I find that is honestly, all those re-recorded tracks are so fucking good. Like they're my favorite. I listen to that over Lowest of the Low or One with the Underdogs. It was like, I don't know, just the way you recorded and sang was so much better in my opinion.
It was, you said boredom. That's kind of close to it. I think it was just having so much time on our hands. And a lot of people I've talked to think we recorded the Trapped in a World thing with Todd, and that sparked him producing Pain into Power. But that's not really how it happened. We asked Todd to produce the new record. We started doing it. It was going super smooth. We had so much time. Everything was really fun. And we just had this brainstorm to like re-record some of those songs from Low Slow and One with the Underdogs with Todd playing guitar. Nick has a home studio, so it was really easy. And we wanted to do it like super raw, kind of like a demo. And we just really banged it out in a couple days. And then we pressed it ourselves. No label. If you look at the LP, there's no label on it at all. So it kind of looks like a bootleg. And it was just something to do during the pandemic. And, like being a band for 20 years, you kind of figure out how to do everything. We know how to record. We know how to put records out. We know how to mix things. So it's just like, damn, we're like handcuffed. We're doing nothing. This is something we can do. Let's fucking do it. So yeah, it came out really cool. And I loved the cover art. And it was just another cool thing to do when the world had us fucking boxed in. I gotta stop you right now.
Okay.
When we were talking about Detroit, I was thinking of so many bands. I want to Pitbull, Ricochet, Smash Your Enemies, Build and Destroy. So many, like they're gonna keep coming to me. But all right,
Freedom.
When that Freedom. I love the LP, but the 7-inch after it. What the fuck's it called? I can't think of it right now. Never Had a Choice. Maybe that's the name of it. Or maybe that's the first song.
Yeah, I did that for USA Hardcore and
dude, they're so good. Empathy, an old kind of like emo band. Really good. All right, so I just wanted to shout out some Detroit bands. You can keep going.
Oh yeah, Never Ending Game. You'll be with them in Detroit.
They're playing the Detroit show, right?
Yeah, and Chicago with you guys. It said.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yes. They're fucking amazing.
They are, man. And didn't Dennis from that band? Did he not do some cover art for you guys off one of the albums? I don't know which one, but I thought for sure he did.
Yeah, he did two things. Our 7-inch called The Walls Will Fall, he drew the cover art. And the last album, Total Retaliation, he did the cover art. And on that record, there's a song called One More Enemy. And he does like a small like guest part in there too. He's great artist, and he has a fucking mean voice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, now he's just a bassist. No, but dude, I wish that band would do a fucking reunion or something. It's been too long, but they're doing things with Never Ending Game right now, so it's one step at a time. We'll get them back.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I don't even know where we were going. Oh, I wanted to ask you. So when you come to Detroit, you've been here fucking so many fucking times. Is there any particular place or like a restaurant that you like to go see or to go eat, or any places that you visit before you guys you perform for the night?
It's funny you ask, because I almost said this when you brought our Harpo's. Do you know, is Jet's Pizza, did that start in Detroit?
I believe so. I've always heard that. I've never done a proper research, but yeah, for sure. It is Detroit style, one of the best, one of the original Detroit styles, besides Buddy's Pizza and shit.
Let's say it's from Detroit. I'm not sure if it is, but at that Harpo show with Hatebreed, someone ordered Jet's Pizza. They said I had to try it. That's the first time I ever had it. My mouth was like loving it. And now that's like my go-to pizza. There's one in Buffalo. I've seen one in Nashville. So whenever I run into them, I need to shove some of that shit into my belly.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. I'm sure somebody will bring it to you. Cause I know those, Pain the Truth dudes, they love it. I seen them scarfing it down last time they were here with Gridiron. Matt from Gridiron was on the stage at 5 minutes before his set. He had a pizza in his hand, just eating his. I was like, how the fuck is he about to perform? He's gonna be throwing up in 5 fucking minutes, man. Because
I try not to eat till like 3 or 4 hours before we play. If I ate pizza right before we played, I would literally puke on stage.
That's what I assumed, because so much energy and jumping up and down, sweat and heartbeat, like you fucking puke on everybody in the front, dude. Ugh, that'd be hard.
Be disgusting.
But it wouldn't be surprised you had a hardcore show where some fucker get puked on. So I don't know. Let's see what else I got. Let's stop for a second here. So thank you again, though, honestly, man, because like I said, like you got a few hours before you probably got to show up at the venue tonight, right?
We're gonna leave here, get an oil change on the van, pick up our merch. I'm gonna go to a barbershop next to the venue. Yeah, all that sorts of day one shit, count the merch, figure our bullshit out, and yeah, but I think we know what we're doing, sort of. Even if a couple of things fall through the cracks, it's always all right.
Yeah, I'm sure you got backup plans in place for almost everything by now.
Razzle Dazzle, that's another fucking Detroit band.
Yeah, dude. Fortunately, dude, they're so good. The party band. Shout out to them because they're finally doing a show again in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen that at Tied Down Fest. That's gonna be here. I did. Yeah, they're doing the pre-show for that with Wild Side and Gel, I think, is playing, and Gag are both playing. So that's gonna be a sick fucking pre-show.
Yeah, that fest looks really cool.
Yeah. You're gonna steal Martine from you for fucking God's Hate is playing on it too. So I don't know if your tour is still gonna be going on, or be just getting over at the beginning of June. You won't be on tour anymore, right?
I think we're off. We go to Europe in like mid-June, so Martine's free to do whatever the fuck he wants. I'll hopefully be sitting in my house relaxing.
Yeah, he's a busy boy, Martine. Man, he's got a.
Oh my god!
Look,
me too. Though in the last break we had, I did shows with Buried Alive and my band World Be Free. So I'm like, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know how to relax.
Yeah, you are going to. Is there any future plans with a World Be Free these days? I mean, I know you guys did like small mini tours here and there, put out some shit, but is there any big plans in the future for them to do any big tours or anything?
I don't know. It's really hard because everybody's in like 600 bands.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I mean, right now my focus is on Terror as much as possible. We'll see. You never know, but the answer could be no, but it could be yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand there's a million logistical problems and things that have to happen for that band to even probably fucking practice on Zoom.
Yeah, Sammy's in like 10 bands too, so
Yeah.
it's very hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got the new album coming. Or what's out already? You guys gonna be on tour probably the rest of this fucking year. Is that just pretty much like your plans for now? Just finish out this album support tour and move on from there?
Yeah, pretty much. There's we got 2 tours booked in Europe, a couple things in the US, a couple fests coming up, and we don't want to, back in the day we could tour like 9 months a year. None of us want to go that hard. So we're gonna do it hopefully tastefully where we're happy and we push the record enough, but not where we want to fucking jump out of the van and say, get me the hell out of here. So
Right.
yeah, touring and yeah, I think that's it.
Cool, man. I mean, fuck, I'm so glad everything's finally back and popping like it was stronger than ever, it seems. So it's like I can't get to enough shows. I'm fucking either working at 4 a.m. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm missing so much because it's just in your face now, you know?
Yeah, even in Buffalo, like a smaller city, a smaller scene, there's so many shows coming through, which it's beautiful. But sometimes you're like, oh shit, I just I got to go to another one.
Yeah. Well, look, like I said, how Zoom is all fucked up. It's like a 40-minute time limit now, unless you got to restart the shit. We pretty much covered whatever I had written down to talk to you about. And so I'm not going to take up any much more of your time. Let's say a 1 minute before this shit shuts off. And I figured we capped it off pretty good, man. We went 40 minutes already. So I appreciate you taking the time, like I said, and you'll be coming through here in a couple weeks. I couldn't be happier for your tour support and all the bands that are playing. So thanks again. And
thank you very much for having me. I'm glad we got to do this. And yeah, I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, man, I'll be there. Punching motherfuckers. Here it goes. All right. Thanks,
all right,
Scott.
have a good one.
All right,
Bye.
you too. Bye.